There we go.
Since early days, people have been inventive in how they want to resuscitate a non-breathing and pulseless human being. In 1493, a Dutch man used bellows from a fireplace to try to put air into someone's lungs to get them to breathe again. Later on in the 1700s, American colonists would inhale tobacco smoke and blow it into non-breathing people to try and flavor lungs in a process called fumigation. Until 1740, the Paris Academy of Sciences were the first people to use actual mouth-to-mouth breathing to try to resuscitate drowning victims. There's lots of practices that were used throughout time. One was called inversion, the process of hanging someone upside down. Barrel rolling, where they would take a human and roll them over a barrel to try to resuscitate them. Or even tongue stretching, where they pull someone's tongue out of their mouth and put a feather in their mouth and tickle the back of their throat to get them to breathe again. All these things led to a certain purpose, and all these scientists and inventors and all their trial and errors has developed what we know today as modern CPR. In the 1800s, George Creel was born in a rural area of Ohio. He was educated in a one-room schoolhouse. He paid for his own education and went to anesthesia school. He became an ambitious and lifelong learner and educator of medicine. In 1903, he was the first person to ever use chest compressions on a human being for the first time in the United States. And in 1904, he successfully resuscitated a person by using his development of chest compressions. Since that time, there's been a lot of other physicians who've been significant with the development of CPR. Peter Safar was one of the biggest ones. He was an anesthesiologist. He was born in the Netherlands and migrated to the United States, and he combined the steps of mouth-to-mouth breathing back in the 1740s from the Paris Academy of Sciences and George Creel's chest compressions, and developed a training program for physicians, fire department personnel, and medical responders and EMTs. He actually put the first training course together in 1956. By 1960, physicians at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland, taught the combined use of chest compressions and mouth-to-mouth ventilations could save lives. But they only taught it to physicians at first. It wasn't until 3 years later when the American Heart Association took notice of the efforts of the Hopkins physicians and other people nationwide. With the help of Safar and teaching laypersons and healthcare providers in mouth-to-mouth breathing and chest compressions, we realized that this could be taught to the masses. Modern CPR retains some of its early principles, but with modern equipment, technological advances, and personal protective equipment, it could evolve from the bellow blowing technique from the 15th century. I'm going to show you some of the modern steps of CPR, and the first one is, this is simple, this would be an adult patient. You come up to your patient and you shake and shout, "Hey, can you hear me?" So we check for unresponsiveness. The next thing you do is you open their head by tilting their head back and lifting their chin, and you look to see if their chest rises. You listen for breathing and you feel breath against your cheek. If they're not breathing, you would give them 2 breaths, and you would use a personal protective equipment like a fluid shield or a pocket mask, and you would pinch their nose shut and put your mouth over the fluid shield over their mouth and give 2 breaths and watch for the chest to rise. And if they still did not wake up, you would feel for a pulse in their neck for a few seconds. And if they did not have a pulse, you would come up above between their nipple line on their chest, and you would give them compressions to press their heart against their spine and their breastbone. And you would do this for 30 compressions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And then you give them 2 more breaths. And you would continue this for 2 minutes, and then recheck the patient's breathing, and recheck the pulse in their neck. If there's still with no change, you would just continue to help thrive. One of the biggest things you can do is actually call 911 right away for an adult if you're by yourself, or just say, "Somebody help me!" and someone will come and help. A lot of times you go out in the public and you actually find things called an AED, which actually is a defibrillator, which anybody can use. It's simple, it talks to you, and you apply it on the person's chest.
An iPad
to patients bearing
And if you're not sure to where to apply the pads, they have pictures on the pads. This actually isn't going to shock. This is just a simulation. Plug in the connector to the flashing light. Does everybody see the flashing light?
Analyzing heart rhythm.
What do I do now?
Do not touch the patient.
Don't touch the patient. Talks to you.
Shock advised. Charging. Stay clear of patient.
Stay clear of the patient, so make sure you don't touch the patient because it's going to give you
Deliver shock
electricity.
now. Press the orange button.
Press the orange
now.
button.
Shock delivered.
And then you continue CPR on the patient. This year marks 50 years that the American Heart Association was founded, and 50 years that they have been doing training programs in the United States and worldwide. Since the 60s, it has helped with resuscitation of people when they stop breathing and when their heart starts beating. It makes this resuscitation possible. Thanks to the practice of physicians and scientists for the past 500 years, we now have defined what modern CPR has become.